Welcome to the 20th episode of Irrational Moms. I mean, 20th. Wow, we've been doing this for 20
It's almost half a year, sort of. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, right? All right, so we're coming to you from your favorite neighborhood MILF Estates, where we're all recovering from the shock of Super Wild Card Weekend.
Sad.
Sorry. All right, so you can listen to us on Spotify or Apple, and you can always Google irrationalmoms.com, and you can find us at YouTube and, watch us, listen to us, subscribe, like, and then leave a comment because we like our fans' questions. And we actually have a fan question of the week from a YouTube fan. So I'm actually looking forward to that. And I think we've kind of talked about this before, but, we'll revisit it again. And we also got Triss's snack of the week, and she actually looks like a snack right now. Can you stand up and show us your snack of the week?
Chair over. It's hard to,
that's ridiculous and amazing. In a very good way.
I know.
In a very good way.
Yeah. It's just, if I was a partier, I could go out.
She is the snack. You are the snack of the week.
That's amazing.
What does that look like? I mean,
just like
it is
colorful. I love all of the outfits. Like, you go in my closet now and
colors.
It's like just colorful, everything, glittery, colorful,
so cute.
all that.
I love it.
I love it.
I know. You go in my closet. One closet has all lingerie.
Yeah.
Another closet has all flannel, like everyday clothes. Flannels, jeans.
Mine's mostly just Nikes is in my closet.
In boxes and in boxes
clear boxes,
too.
Not in shoe boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You are actually really good about making sure your closet looks really
It's
nice
not
and
big
neat.
enough.
I'm impressed.
I would love to have a huge closet with like all my shoes
Yes,
displayed.
one of those ones that has an island in the middle of it, like that big of a closet.
Except
would be
I like living in a smaller house, so I don't know how I'm going to get that in a small house. You know what I mean?
Once one of your kids leaves, turn one of their bedrooms into a closet.
Hang on one second.
You could do that. Also, while she's doing that, we're going to talk about Super Wildcard Weekend, the shocks of the winners and the losers. Also, we're going to discuss how irrational it is for people to assume things about you when they don't even know you in general, right? So there's so much to discuss about this one, and we could go in so many different directions because I think everyone has their assumptions about somebody, right? And a lot of those assumptions come from within themselves about how they feel about themselves, and they just kind of project it. So I think this is going to be a fun topic today. But before we get that, Triss,
what you got there?
Hold up. What do we got going on over here?
I'm running out of propane. I'm so sad because usually it's like like a much bigger flame. I don't know. I'm not going to say I have been using this very much.
Ooh,
what you cooking up over there?
Is full
You gonna
Look, I made brownies this morning.
Oh, is that
marshmallows?
marshmallows?
And I decided to add marshmallows on top because the ones that you made me,
oh my goodness,
you made me ones that had marshmallows inside, and they were so good. And I was like, setting them up. That's the only thing about doing with this is that often.
Do you like your marshmallows for s'mores burnt? Because I only like mine a little golden and melty. So I do it low, slow flame.
You want it to be melted in the middle for sure, but it does have an interesting texture, and I think I don't know, it makes it if it's got a little bit of a crunch in a few spots,
I like things that are burnt.
Not at all.
It's all nice and crunchy. See, Triss, you're like my little spirit animal over there eating all my little food.
And, I don't like burnt ends or any of that kind of stuff. I know you like those, but
that's
I want
my
my
favorite.
Medium rare.
I
don't
want
want any kind of meat that's cooked more than medium rare in my mouth.
I actually order burnt ends as appetizers.
Yeah, burnt ends are good.
And I want them yes. I like the fat all nice and burnt too.
Well,
where it's all
fat is good. But when it's hard and charred, I can't even chew that. I don't want to eat beef jerky.
Like any of the fatty meats.
Ooh.
That's why I don't like ribs, because they're too fatty.
What if I make you deer jerky?
Ooh, I would have that.
I mean, I'll eat, but I'm saying I'll eat jerky. I mean, if I'm eating a steak, I don't want it to be jerky texture. That's what I meant.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
I was getting a text from the school, so I was actually looking at my phone. Sorry, because you never know. I like how usually they start it. Everyone's okay, but is how they start the text. But
Oh,
yeah.
geez.
Brownie with
Are they
No,
on
it's
lockdown?
fine so far, but it was just there was a bullying incident last week, so
Oh, we
yeah.
should get into that.
To be
we
clear,
should
my
get into
kids
that.
were not
Okay,
the bullies, just
hold
to
up.
be clear.
No, they weren't. They weren't. So hold up. We'll go back to Trissa's snack.
I'm
while she's
jealous.
eating
I'm
that
so
and
hungry
licking
right
her-
now. It's like coffee number 4,
I
but no
know.
food.
Oh, hey, I
Yes,
really
thank
like
you,
your coffee cup.
Poindexter.
I should
Oh,
have used mine.
yeah.
We
I
have
need
them
to
in our
use mine.
store
I'm
now.
sorry,
If
I did
anyone
not bring
wants
mine.
one.
Yeah.
What's the store? Say
Yeah.
what the store thing is. The
We
address
should-
for the store.
It's actually on our YouTube channel. So you can look there and you can see things there. But if you go to mrspoindexter.io, you can find, we have calendars of all of us, which
Yeah.
are really, really nice,
Yeah, like
high
pinup style calendar.
quality
Mm-hmm.
calendars. Yes,
Safe-
safe for work.
Well,
So
I
you
mean,
can take them
safe
to your
for work
office.
meaning
Safe-ish.
in lingerie, but not. But it's not safe
Oh,
for
yeah.
everyone's work.
It's no
That would
different than like, you know.
mine definitely would not be safe for some workplaces.
Mm.
Firehouse,
Yeah,
absolutely.
mine.
Police station, yes, but like I don't know, serious conservative law firm, probably not.
You know what we need to do next year is that we do need to do
Oh, we
a
should.
Irrational Moms calendar, and then we should send it out to a bunch of
Subscriber.
like
that's a good idea.
firefighters,
Yeah.
stations, fire
Look.
stations, fire stations. Hello, need more
I
coffee.
like that. Yeah.
Actually, a good idea.
You have a lot of
Sometimes
good
I have good
ideas.
ideas. Sometimes not.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, Triss, I'm glad that you're eating for
Yes.
us, since I'm like embarking on my like 36-hour like fast over here, trying to like still detox everything out.
Man, I wish I could. You're
No.
brave. You're a
I'm not
brave
even going to
woman.
pretend like I'm going to fast.
I would
I tried
cry.
intermittent fasting, and even that I was
Yeah.
miserable, and it did nothing to help me. So, I'm just going to eat.
No, I did crazy leg day yesterday, and then on to the brownies today. You have to have some balance in
Right.
life. That's
My
where I'm
balance
at.
is I just eat healthy, small portions with lots of protein is my, and hardly drinking. That's how I maintain a balance, I guess. Yeah.
That's good. That's a good way to maintain the balance. All right. So before we go into our question of the week, talk about this bullying incident, because I was actually really upset when I got that text from you, because I thought, I think things should have
it
been
is
taken
happening.
further, but
So my daughter was on crutches, and she had a fracture in like the back of her ankle bone. And some kids make fun of anybody for anything. And some boys were harassing her in PE. They were sitting behind her. And when she went to get up, one of them kicked her crutches out from under her. Now, thankfully, she didn't fall. But I was like, what in the absolute F are we doing with our boys, where our boys think they can lay the hands on the girls? Because that is, nobody should be fighting or bullying or whatever. But I told my daughter, if they touch her again, she's to beat their, with a crutch. And
oh yeah,
she's like, but I'll get suspended.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. I'll have your back. And I told the school, when I contacted the school after I got all the information, I told them that too. I'm like, I told her that if anyone touches her, she can absolutely beat them with a crutch and she won't get in trouble at home. And I'm like, I understand you don't want it handled this way, but you need to handle this, because I am not going to live in a world where my daughter is going to get assaulted at school. Absolutely not. And this wasn't like he tried to kick and miss, like a playful type thing. His foot was inside her crutches and he kicked it out. She just caught herself and didn't fall. So that is being dealt with. Thankfully, I made it clear that I was happy to talk to parents, that I had no problem. If they touch her again, they'll be expelled and I'll call the cops. So, because
good.
Right.
Yeah, that is assault. That is the definition of assault. And you can't have, and then for a boy to do that and thinking then you wonder, like, what's going on in the house with these boys? And what are they seeing,
and
how their fathers are treating their moms?
Exactly.
And that's like a huge concern.
I wonder about moms of bullies, because I know, like, I behaved badly as a child. And my parents couldn't control me, right? They couldn't control what I did. But there can be consequences for stuff. So these kids are kids that get in trouble a lot. They're problem kids. They're in a group of kids where some have been expelled, some have been suspended. And I'm like, all right, I get that you can't control your child, but there's always stuff you can take away. Where we live, it's a bunch of rich, spoiled kids. So if your kid is behaving badly at school, why do they still have a fancy phone? Why do they have money to go to Starbucks after school? Why are they out riding their bike around for hours after school? Like, you can always take stuff away from kids. And that doesn't jive with some people's modern version of like BS soft parenting, where it's like, oh, I don't want to crush my kid's spirit. No, sometimes your kid's spirit needs to be crushed because they're an a-hole. Like, what are we doing? I'm sorry, but you have to. I mean, Mr. Poindexter and I always joke, like, you got to beat your kids to keep them out of prison. And I guarantee that boy that kicked her was not beaten ever as a child, and he needs to be.
Well, and not only that, Annabelle, I think also it's probably the parents are totally checked out, and you live in a very, yeah, like I said, rich neighborhood, and I bet you the parents don't even know what's going on. They probably have nannies or something, and the parents are so like just they give the kids whatever they want. They're not really even involved with what's going on. So yeah, I mean, I had one of my middle child, and my middle child can be an I mean, but he also knows at one time he was doing a bunch of wrestling, and I told him when you go to school, I'm like, you are not to wrestle, you're not to lay a hand on anybody, nothing. Well, he ended up getting bullied at school, like locking himself in the bathroom crying because these kids were just like teasing him, like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you should show us how you're like how you wrestle. And I told him, like, no, you're not to touch anybody. So anyways, it came in, it just like kind of just steamrolled into this huge thing where he would like wanted to leave the school. Finally the school got involved, and the kids actually admitted that they were actually bullying him. But at that point, because he didn't want to tell us like what was going on, I'm like, listen, you have my permission. Next time they lay a hand on you, or you're in the bathroom, you're crying, you're that upset, you can punch those kids.
Right.
I don't care. I'm like, fight back. I'm like, this is not like, just because I said you're not to touch them, it doesn't mean that you have
That's
you
what
can
I
put up
think.
with shit either.
We shouldn't be out
I'm
there
like,
fighting.
I'm
but
sorry.
if someone's
Because
assaulting you, then fight back. I don't mind that. I think that's perfectly acceptable. And I mean, the way I look at it is, well, I did use it as an opportunity to talk to her about not just that and bullying, but about like how to be safe from boys in any scenario. Because, we've talked to our kids, all of us, about, what happens and how to protect yourself and be safe. But I never talked specifically about like the types of violence that boys might commit against girls. And I mean, she's watched Law and Order SVU with me, but I'm like, hey, look, I want you, if at all possible, you be absolutely as loud and rambunctious as possible. You run to a teacher, get behind a teacher, even if the teacher doesn't know what's happening and they think you're being bad, who cares? We'll sort it later. But your job is to protect yourself. Don't be quiet and meek and allow someone to harm you. Now, you still may not be able to get out of a scenario, right? Like, sometimes people are stronger than us and you can't, but a lot of women just kind of freeze and shrink, and you don't want to make noise and you're afraid. I'm like, don't be like that. Make as much noise as possible and make it really hard for someone to like, get a hold of you. So yeah, it was stressful last week. It's been a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is stressful because it's a stressful situation as a parent, because you see your child like being bullied, right? And then it's like, and then going to the school, and then what we did, like, we told our son, like, hey, listen, you get in trouble, we're going to take you out and get ice cream. We'll go talk to the principal. I don't care what she ends up doing with you. To us, it's like you did the right thing, but also make sure that they throw the first punch. That's like my whole thing. Like, once they throw it, then you can defend yourself. But they were like, I mean, they were pushing him, and I had all the parents called me to apologize besides one parent, because they sent letters home, and then they actually called and followed up with the parents. And the one mom, I got a text, and it was like, basically, sorry, my kid's just being a boy.
No.
And they're just being boys. And I'm like, that's just not being boys. I'm like, I'm sorry, but when you lay your hands on my child and he's locked himself in the bathroom,
assault
we got a problem.
Is not boys being boys. I'm cool. Boys be boys. They wrestle, they're rambunctious, they're gross, they fart all the time. Like, all those things are like boys being boys. But physical assault is a no. And parents, if you think that's boys being boys, you're an idiot, and you really need to reevaluate how you're looking at the situation, because that's just not true. And, I don't want my kids growing up to be weak, and I don't think, I probably shouldn't say the word that I told them don't be. I don't want them to be wussies or sissy, but at the same time, like, if someone assaults you, that's a line that's different. That's not tattletaling, and that's not being soft. We're not assaulting people. We're not doing that. We will defend ourselves, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, especially as a
Mhm.
female. I mean, she needs to learn it's like
Yep.
to have that confidence within her, and then like to hold her head up high. And if she projects like a just energy of like don't
And
f
that's
with
how
me,
I've
they
always
won't either,
projected that.
right?
Like, I
Or
don't
she's
look
just
friendly or approachable or nice,
mhm.
and people usually leave me alone. And I'm okay with that. My trainer said I should get her in like Krav Maga or like jujitsu or something. So I'm actually thinking about that.
Oh,
Oh, that would be
Because
good.
I have a lot of
Yeah,
pent up rage all
yeah.
the time, and I think she does too. And I think it'd be really good for her.
I wonder where she gets that from.
we need to go to one of those
I
rage
know.
rooms.
I would
That would
love
be
to.
fun. That would be fun with
Yep.
Annabelle.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
Yes, hammers and axes. Okay, I am not going with you.
No,
guys.
I
I'm
will
just
go
gonna
with
say,
you.
You
Why
go
wouldn't
buy
you?
yourself.
Yes, she's not beating you. She's destroying
Right.
the room.
I would never be mad at you like that, not violently.
I mean, I have maybe kicked a hole in the wall before and thrown some things around the house. I mean, not gonna lie,
Yeah.
when I lose my sometimes I have
Right.
taken like toys and like chucked them across the room and like been like,
I'm worried that if I
what
go
is
to a
this?"
rage room, because I have like the rheumatoid arthritis and I've like had a rotator cuff tear and I have disc degeneration in my back, I'm so worried. Like I threw my back out leaning over to fold laundry. I'm afraid I'm going to like permanently be debilitated if I go to a rage room. I'll be like swinging an axe, like, oh, my shoulder, I can't, tear my rotator cuff again or something. Like,
You should do something physical. Maybe I should buy you like a little boxing
I
thing where you
can't
can
do
like hit it all the
boxing. My
time.
trainer
Like,
told me no, or my physical therapist told me no. I don't know.
Why?
My joints are all messed up.
Oh, well.
you need
yeah.
a stress
Maybe.
ball, maybe? A
I
stress
don't
ball?
know.
Oh.
Right now I just scream at people when I'm driving, and that seems to be enough for now.
All right. Hey.
That's
All
so
right. So we
funny.
should get to our question of the week. And it comes from a fan on YouTube. It comes
Hi,
from
James.
James. So hi, James. Thanks for the question. We've kind of touched on this the answer to your question before, but we'll answer it again. Basically, he was wondering, how do we approach the milestone of our kids turning 16? And are we going to get them cars? And what concerns do we have? And Tris, I know we've kind of talked about this because you
Right?
are Mom of the Year over here.
Tell the folks what you just did.
Yeah. So, well, and actually, I don't know how old these people think our kids are. I guess we all have like somewhat close, but my oldest just turns, or I say just, he's about to turn 17 in like 2 weeks. So he already needed a car. He did not have one. So I looked everywhere and I found a Toyota Tacoma, a 2016. It wasn't bad for under my
looks
budget
amazing.
that I wanted to stay under. Yeah, it's in great shape. There's like a couple little dings here and there, but I mean, it's a 2016 and it's a Toyota. So I'm sure it can get like what?
Yeah, it can last forever if he needs it to.
Oh, totally.
He can
Yeah.
drive
Yeah,
that until he gets
so-
married, in 10 years.
Yeah,
Spoiled.
right.
I just want to say spoiled because I
Yeah.
saw that picture of that truck and I'm like, I
Yeah.
would have died to have that truck. in
Hey,
high
we
school.
talked about our first vehicles, okay? Mine didn't even have a working radio, and I'm there using a little Walkman. So I was the only one that could
Right.
listen to the radio,
Sorry,
nobody
guys.
else. This guy's going to at least have a touch
Right.
screen and all that
I
stuff.
know.
So
I had, like, we've talked about this. I had no power steering, no
Yeah.
power, no AC,
cranking
no
the
nothing.
window.
Like,
Like,
Yeah,
Yes.
if you want air down on the other side, you got to lean all the way across and roll that window down.
well, at least
Yeah.
it was a truck, a Toyota
Oh,
4x4,
yeah,
so I could
nice.
open the back slider
yeah.
and then have air come through. So that was nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was nothing. And then like cranking that wheel because no power
gosh.
steering.
No, they have no
Kids
idea.
have no idea
Right?
how easy they have it now. They can just touch
It's so
and-
true.
yeah.
They really don't. And I've been trying to, like, I got him some stuff to, like, Aeropist tire that can go in his truck. I have one actually for my car, and it's
Oh, the flat
incredible. It's like
inflator thing or whatever?
$40.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just plug it up
That's
to the
awesome.
lighter thing. Yeah, so I got him that, and although it does tell you the PSI, I did get him one of the little things
Aw.
to check it and, teach him how to do all these things, but it is a little nerve-wracking to think about him being on the road without
Right.
anybody. Because people are
I know.
crazy,
Aw.
like they're out of control. So, but at least it is a truck. He's a big boy. Like he's way bigger than me. But his dad is 6'3" and a really big dude. So, I wanted something that he could fit in well. And
That's awesome.
so this is going to fit. Yeah. A little bit of an investment, but
I mean, it's great. Yeah.
But it's a good
That's the thing,
investment.
it'll
It will
last
last a
forever.
long
I think
time.
Yeah, and his brother was just like, he got back to their dads and was just like, well, he got a truck. Like I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Right. Do you want one when you get older?
okay, and
Then I
when
would
your
calm
time
down.
comes, exactly. And considering the other one got an iPhone 15 Pro, so he officially has a newer phone than I do, and that's never happened. So I'm like, you know what? You guys are all spoiled. I'm done with
Yeah.
it. Like, I don't even want to buy myself anything most of the time. But I do splurge on my kids more than
Well, but it's not like you bought him a brand new car. It's a really reasonable car. It's a
right.
great car for a kid. I mean, we're going to do the same thing. I told, my kids, they're going to get like a used, like some kind of like Honda Civic or Toyota Camry or one of those kind of cars that will last forever, that are super safe and, are not ridiculous to maintain. That's the biggest thing for me is I'm not.
That was the other thing. Yeah. Maintenance, like, Toyota, but like any of those cars that you listed are going to be easy to
we're on
replace
the
parts
same
stuff
page.
like
I don't
that.
know exactly what one, but my kid's dad is like an expert in purchasing beater cars. So I'm sure he'll find
beater cars.
Yeah. Listen, how many beater cars does he currently have?
It's got to be at least 12, but I'm not sure of the like full amount. Plus 12, probably 12 beaters, but then he also has a couple nice cars too. None of them ever purchased new or for full price, to be clear, but yeah, they're everywhere. So if one of my cars gets really old, it's like, oh, here, I'll donate this to the used car fund.
My favorite is his truck that had the camper shell on top of it, and then would have like
and like duct tape
wheels.
and stuff. Yeah, and the neighbors were like, "You can't park that in the neighborhood. We're sorry, you can't have that. It looks like homeless people live in." And then one time, homeless people or meth addicts, I don't know if they're homeless, actually stole it. Like we joked about it looking like meth dealers live in it, and meth addicts stole it. Right.
And you lived in a nice neighborhood.
Exactly.
One of the nice neighborhoods in Sacramento.
And then I was just like, oh, thank God it's gone, right? I didn't care. It was like, because, he paid, what, $2,000 for it. It wasn't like it was anything nice. But then he filed a police report, and then the police find it. Eventually, like a month later or something, the meth addicts abandon it, and they find it. And they're like, do you want it back? And I'm like, no. Like, it was like full of, it was so
gross.
Disgusting. But he got it. He did get it back. And then no, he did. He got it back.
I
and then
saw
he
it.
sold it
when you got it
to someone else.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not.
This is just like.
Oh.
This is just like the other guys with Will Ferrell, and they keep stealing the Prius, and they leave a little note in there that says "Thanks for the F Shack," and then they sign it "Dirty Mike" in the voice.
I've never seen that. That's funny. Except this was littered with like, cigarettes and chemicals and like, blister packs of, I don't know, cold medicine. Yuck. It was ridiculous. And there was like spiders in it. I don't know.
Take the black light.
No, I was like, I'm never going in there.
From Dirty Mike, and
that's what I was gonna say. When we saw it after he got it back, we pulled up at the gym and he had it, and I was like, "What the heck is going on with these tires?" And like, it was like totally beat up. He opened the back door of the camper shell, and it's like you can see all these spiders, and I was like, spider webs. And I was like, ew. I was like, come on. I'm like, at least throw a bomb at
the kids
like
one time were like,
we're
scared to sleep in there, Dad. There's spiders.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I have a child that will be 16 this year. So he's already doing his like driver's like training stuff right now. So I'm super excited because I'm like, heck yeah, you are going to drive. And you can drive your brothers around because I'm tired of being like your guys' chauffeur. So I'm super excited about that. Plus he's very social. So he's always wanting to go do things. So I'm like, this is going to be good. But we're just going to we'll get him a used car too. I mean, there's no way in heck I'm ever going to buy a child a new car. I mean,
Mr. Poindexter's old car? That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. And it's like, it's the same age as he is.
That's great. Yeah.
But it's a Toyota. It has only a couple 100,000 miles on it. It will run forever. And if it like gets, crashed.
Exactly.
He crashes it. It's fine.
Yeah.
And it's safe. It's really safe. In fact, one of the kids had a tutor for a couple years, and the tutor like crashed her car.
She drove
so
that
we
for
let
like
her
6 months or something, or maybe longer.
You guys are so nice. Y'all do so many nice things for people. I'm just saying.
Right? Be like, you want to live in my old house? Okay.
Try.
Right? Just good people.
Yeah. But with him, I don't have any concerns. Yeah. He's like, my oldest one's super safe. Now, this is this is how it's going to go down in my house, though. The middle one is the one I have concerns about driving, and I don't know what we're going to do about him. I mean, it's like this. I think someday when they're all a little bit older and they can all drive, the middle one's going to be like, we're taking the car. The oldest one's going to be like, no, we can't because we're going to get in trouble. And the little one's going to be like, I'm all in for whatever you guys decide to do. I mean, that is how it is, right?
I find it weird that so many kids, I don't know if this is everywhere, if it's just like kind of where we live, but so many kids aren't getting their driver's license when they turn 16. It's like they don't want to drive. And I'm like, is this just a California thing? Like, I mean, I left school on my birthday and got my driver's license in the, like lunch or something.
Yep.
And I know a lot of my friends back in Georgia, their kids are driving. So I'm like, what is going on out here? Are kids like so soft and spoiled? They just want to be driven everywhere? Like, is it, I don't know what that's about, but I'm like, I don't want to drive these kids. I mean, I spend so much of my day driving. I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. I can't wait for my kids to drive. Thankfully, my kids want to drive. So there's no issue, but I think it's very strange the way kids don't want to.
Well, Mr. Poindexter is the same way. He's just like, they don't need to drive when they're 16 because he doesn't think the kids need to really drive. And I'm like, oh, they're driving. I'm with you.
But he also doesn't want them to go in the ocean. So, I mean, he's just like
they have no choice
in weird ways, you know?
He doesn't. He says 98% of children that go into the ocean die. I'm like, I don't know where you're getting this statistic from, but I don't.
I know.
Don't listen to him.
But like, we'll be at the beach and the adults are there and sober and present. He's like, no, don't go in the ocean. We're like, there's lifeguards and parents. What are you talking about?
It's still, it can be scary. I will be on his side a little bit that it can be scary, but I have told my boys so many times, like, how to watch the currents and know where to go in. I think we mentioned this last time. Like, I mean, it can pull a grown man down. It can pull somebody like a professional swimmer underneath. Like, it's that powerful. So if you don't know how to get out of it, then
I guess my kids surf and they have
so.
Since they were little. So it just doesn't even occur to me that people don't like regular people just won't go in the ocean. I mean,
do you want to tell a story like what happened to your oldest son like a couple
weeks
but he
ago
was
surfing?
Fine. Like,
I mean,
during
there was
one
a huge
of the big
swell and he was surfing with his buddy. And I have always, it kind of makes me uneasy about surfing without adults like that are with you, but surfers do a pretty good job of looking out for each other. But the waves were huge and he got kind of washed up on some rocks. And so he hit his head, but he was okay. But, you know, in swells like this, the beaches are pretty much clear except for surfers. Like, and so they always have a lot of emergency personnel. There's extra lifeguards and they have EMTs sort of like down the beach. And so there was an EMT right above him who yelled down, "Hey, do you need help?" He's like, "No, I'm good. I just got to jump off the rocks and go around there." He's like, "So just make sure I make it." And he did. He couldn't get his board though. And when the tide went out, he went back and got this board and it was like broken up into tiny pieces. But that was because the board stayed, and so it kept getting slammed into the rocks and breaking more. So it wasn't like he had a huge collision with the rocks, and you know what I mean? But I mean, that makes me nervous, but that's also not normal behavior. Regular people are not in the water on days like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he is an experienced surfer, so, and he has a grown man-sized body. So, you know, I do worry less, but it's still, I mean, it's nerve-wracking, you know?
Yeah. You're right. Like, he had like knowledge of it and he's been in it. It's the people that just go out, like that go to the
drunk
beach
guys
for
on vacation or just out in the ocean in there.
They have no idea what's going on. They don't realize that it can be dangerous. But
and they also do that lifeguard.
Yeah, they have junior lifeguards. Yeah,
summer,
they still,
or they did when they were younger, right?
Year.
Yeah. Yeah, so they also know like what to do, like if they get caught like into some type of like undertow, like how to properly like let it. I don't even know what you would do, but because
I don't go in the ocean. Really, I don't just like it. It's, especially in California, the ocean's cold. Like growing up when I was a kid and we went to Florida for the beach, ocean was great because it was like pleasant and warm. What are you heating up over there, Tris?
My marshmallows are cold, and I keep eating them.
This is someone who is truly committed to a snack. And I fully appreciate it because I would do the same thing. Like if my coffee gets cold, I'm not just going to drink it. I'm going to go heat it up. I get it.
Heck no. Ew, right? Cold coffee. Ugh, no. Yeah, I don't know how Mr. Poindexter does that. I'm like,
it's not even cold. It literally it's room temperature. Coffee. Room temperature is not iced coffee.
Right. Ugh.
Yes. Well, that's why I can't use a coffee mug when we're doing these things
Yeah.
because it doesn't stay nice and hot. That's why I have to have a
Well, I have the mug
insulated,
warmers.
coffee cup.
I got you one, but
Oh, that's right.
I
You
saw
bought me one. I should,
recently it's like an
yeah, I
actual
should put
cup
it
that
in
has a
here.
battery and the cup heats itself. And so if you're not walking around with it, you can keep it on a charger. But then like if you take it in the car, the cup keeps heating. So I might get one of those.
Yeah.
Don't some cars have like cup holders
I
that
don't
are
know.
heated
Not mine.
to keep your coffee?
I don't know.
Mine
They might have the
either.
cup holder heated, but I know before my boyfriend got rid of his Range Rover, he it has like a in the console, it's like you can turn it on, it's like a freezer. So if we stop to get ice cream, we would
No
put the ice cream in
way.
there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think it was meant for beer.
Yeah, right. I don't know what it was meant for exactly, but it
Right.
works for ice
We're
cream.
using it for ice cream though.
I want to know why my Raptor doesn't have that either, because that would be perfect for when I go deer
Right.
hunting. Instead of having to put an ice chest in the back and stop and get out and go. Not for beer though, for soda. I'm a responsible deer hunter.
Right.
Beer hunter. No, sorry.
At the end of the day.
So we do have we kind of have an irrational mom topic about like how people assume things about you, but I think we have so much football that I think we need to push that to next week. Are you guys okay with that? Because I think we really need to talk about like what happened this weekend, what our predictions were, and how we kind of like failed on some of those, and then what we're gonna see next week, which is gonna be good too. All right, so let's jump into our super wildcard weekend, and I, for one, was really upset that the Bills game got pushed to yesterday. I really wanted to see them play in the snow and it be blizzard conditions on Sunday.
I don't even know how that would have been possible. No. Like you couldn't even see.
Whiteout.
It was just
they couldn't
chaos. Yeah.
I mean, good. We'd be like, who is that?
They wouldn't even be able to see to hand it off unless the person was touching them. I mean, it was crazy.
Could dive into the snow and tunnel to the end zone.
I mean, it was crazy though. All the snow, like that was still out there, like on the seats.
No,
right?
and I
there
thought
was no way
when
they got that cleared
I had
out.
seen the video from like 2 hours before with people trudging through snow to get to their seats. But then by the time I saw it on TV, I'm like, oh, they must have cleared it, but they didn't. It was just everyone was standing on top of the snow or standing in it.
Yeah. And I thought it was just they had only done one side, but then I also saw videos of like Bills fans like shoveling stuff out of the way. So because that's, I mean, I guess what can you do? It was so full.
None of these stadiums especially during the playoffs, are going to have a whole side for the other team. There's hardly any other team fans at a lot of these because I think they do allocate some tickets for the other team, but mostly it was Bills. They want it to be a home game.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, I mean, they just didn't have time. I would think they had like 2,500 people shoveling snow that morning. That's insane.
Well, what's interesting was like when I saw them shoveling, like some guys like just shoveling on the seats below him that were already shoveled. And I'm like, dude, do you start at the top and work your way down? But then I also thought when you do that, then the bottom ones are going to get deeper, deeper, deeper. So there's got to be, and then I saw their little like,
their little slide, of like, and somebody got in it and like pushed it down. That was pretty funny. That guy was crazy. He took his shirt off. I'm like,
I mean,
no.
Bills fans out there look super fun. I mean, they're lunatics, but they look like a fun fan base. I don't like the Bills, but
the Bills
Mafia seems like it might be kind of cool. When they played the Rams, I think it was last year, the first game of the year, I was like, before the game, I was like looking, I'm like, where are the Bills Mafia? I want to see people jumping on to like tables that are on fire and stuff. Like I was excited to see that and I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, they don't look mean, right? They're not going to fight you like the Raiders fans or some other fans.
They look ridiculous, but fun.
All right, so let's walk down like what happened this weekend. Browns versus Texans. I think
I did too, and I'm so glad I was wrong because CJ Stroud is an absolute baller. He is just awesome, and I've made it clear that I also love their coach. He is.
Well, he played for the Texans too, right? I mean, this is his first year, so that is cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that game.
I will say this: good. I mean, all the games were pretty boring because the only game that was even competitive was the Rams-Lions. I mean, I was like, how are all these games so unevenly matched? I was really surprised.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. The playoffs is what happens sometimes. Sometimes games are really good. I mean, I feel like all the games started off like not too bad the first quarter, and then it was just like, okay, this is gonna be a good game. And I think we even talked. Was it that game, the Browns versus the Texans, we were texting.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be a good game. And then it was like,
Right.
it was like,
Yeah.
damn, they fell off. And it was just, and then it was like, all right, it's like Browns. I'm like, y'all just need to go. And I actually really like the fact that we have these
Right,
teams
they weren't
that were
expected to
like
do
the
anything.
lowest seeded teams. Yes. And they're coming up and they have like rookie quarterbacks and they're coming through and they're just like blowing it away. And I'm like, this is good. Or like last night, I do like Baker Mayfield. I'm sorry. I've always liked him when he was with the Browns. I felt like he got done last year.
Hey,
when
he was a Rams legend for a minute. I was never a huge Baker fan, but I didn't really care about him. But when he came out and won that game against the Raiders, I was like, dude, respect to that kid, because that is not easy to do. Like, you just got with this team, your whole future's been in question the whole year, and he earned himself a year contract, and now look what he's done. Dude's going to get a good deal after this. I mean, he's been great. I'm happy for him. And his she's super cute. She's pregnant, so that's cute too. So they're probably having a good time right now, you know.
I know he used to do these commercials, and they were always funny as heck. Like he's like going into the stadium and
because he lived at the stadium,
the lights
right?
on or
Wasn't he,
something. Do you
sleeping
remember
at the
those
stadium or
commercials?
something?
Yeah, I think it was like that, right? And he was like telling his wife, like, sorry,
Yeah.
like I can't make it right now or something. And yeah, and it was just always, I mean, I always was like, oh,
my favorite thing that Baker does is when he's really excited, he takes his helmet off and headbutts dudes who are wearing helmets. And I remember I have seen him do this his whole career, but at last year, and I think it was when the Rams Raiders game or something. But, you know, it was clear that many Rams fans had never seen Baker do this by the reactions on the internet. And they're just like, oh my God, the guy's going to get, you know, CTE or whatever. And it's like, he just gets so excited. He's like such pure rambunctious joy. He's like, yeah, bam. It's like, dude, you don't have on a helmet and they do. Like, what are you doing?
They beat the Eagles. I mean, they spanked them last night. And I was just really like, I mean, there's so much to say about that, but I'm just really disappointed on how the Eagles played the last half of the game.
That was pretty
much
much
half of the
an
season.
epic collapse. It reminds me a lot of the Padres this past season, where like you should be really good and you are just absolute trash. Has there been a collapse like that in any kind of recent time of a team that was like good and projected to be good that went 10-1 and then lost all the rest of their games but one? I mean, has that ever happened?
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to ask our producer Matt. Has there been a team that's
collapsed
done that?
The way
that was like
did?
that came out just?
Yeah, he don't know either, and he knows more than me.
He's
sure.
good. That look on his face says, "I don't know."
That's pretty bad.
I felt more bad for them because I do think that Jason Kelce is just adorable and unlike his brother in every single way possible, but he's adorable and sweet.
You're right. He is. And I'm like, he's just like a big teddy bear. And I had tears in my eyes watching him. And like, and then of course I had to put the camera right on him as like, you can see his eyes are all red and he's getting ready to cry. And I'm like,
it's so sad.
Why do you do that to a grown man? Why do you have to like,
I thought about that because you had mentioned that one college player, I think, that had lost his dad and like they had the cameras on him, or maybe it's you talking about that, Annabelle, but yeah, no, I thought that same thing too. Like, dang, let the man just grieve if he's done. Like, he's had a great run though. I love seeing all his stats.
Well, I mean, one of the things I like about the Kelce brothers and their sort of surge in the media, even though it's a lot, is it's like a healthy display of masculinity. Like, they love their families and they're affectionate with their families, and they are like rough, tough guys, but Jason will cry and not be ashamed that he cried because, you know, they put their heart and soul into it. And I do think that's a good example of like a good type of masculinity. You can still be super masculine, but just not be an a-hole. You can be still also a good person and soft when you need it. You know, I like that as sort of a message for boys or whatever, you know. They're setting good examples out there. I knew when I saw him hugging Stout, Jeff Stoutland's their O-line coach. When I saw him hugging him, I was like, oh, he's retiring. That's when I sent y'all the text. I'm like, Kelce's going to retire tomorrow. I can't believe he actually said it already, because he had said before he wouldn't do it during the season, but maybe he just meant his own off season. Or he was just so done that he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, he knew. I felt like when the tush push didn't work, that was another sign. I'm like, okay, it's over. It's over.
Well, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh God, finally, yes!" That like
they
someone has been able
this
to break
year.
that.
I didn't know that,
and
they said it on the broadcast.
I didn't know that either. But I mean, the fact that, but also the Bucks had a really good, huge defense player that they were. I mean, when they showed that like in slow motion, where he actually, I can't remember what his name is, but the way he like dove down the bottom, or he was just like, "I'm stopping you." He got under like Kelce, yeah. So he was like, "Nope."
Did y'all see one of the funniest things that happened in the Chiefs Dolphins game was when L'Jarius Sneed was like just punking Tyreek Hill out. He like hit him and was shoving him facing the ground. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. I did
they were
not
like
see that.
he was like blocking or something, or Tyreek was trying to block, and L'Jarius Sneed's kind of throwing him to the ground, and then he pushes him down again. And there was the NFL, I think the NFL
Did not see that.
tweeted that clip and was like, "Don't mess with L'Jarius Sneed" or something. And Tyreek Hill retweeted, and he said, "Jammed my ass all the way to Cancun." Like he talks so much smack. I love that he'll like make fun of himself too. Like he's like, "Yeah, you did that." I mean, it's pretty funny. Yeah,
That's so funny. I don't know if you guys saw this like meme too, because when Mahomes like cracked his helmet or whatever that time.
Yeah.
And there's one going around that like if he had Allstate, he would have been better protected from that mayhem.
I haven't either.
I need to find it.
Seen that, but that's
I need
funny.
to find it. Yeah.
I can't believe when that piece
Oh my
of
God.
helmet just flew off
that
because it's like
and
so
send it to
cold. I'm like,
right.
I even told Mr. Poindexter that there must have been some type of stress fracture already in that helmet, because
I think what they said in the temperature, it could just be that brittle because it's that cold. I don't know if that's true. I saw people say that.
Well, then, I mean, they maybe need to engineer those helmets, because that should not be happening. Because what if you have two players that like go head to head, and I mean, even they're not supposed to, but things happen.
For sure. Well, Patrick ducked his head on that one. He could have. First of all, they should have made them call a timeout for him to change his helmet. That was one of those instances of Mahomes getting the like royal boy treatment. And they could have called a penalty on him for lowering his head.
I thought about that too. But I think the helmet thing, I think so too. I think
it was sort of like, it's really cold. We got to get him another helmet. So, like, I think that, I don't think it was, I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist. I don't think it was like super calculated, but it was interesting that people were like, no, but the normal thing to do is you have to call a timeout, or he has to come out for a play, or you have to call a timeout. And that's true. So, I don't know. Maybe the brains weren't firing super fast in the negative 30-degree wind chill or whatever.
Right?
Yeah, it was too cold.
I mean, some of those players have no gloves on, and I'm like, how do you do that? Because I'm like, your hands have got to be like so cold. Even the refs too. I'm like,
I don't know how they do it. And some of the guys were even saying they don't like wearing sleeves when it's cold, because it can impact how they're able to grab the ball. Because the sleeve is going to be smooth, whereas the arms, and I don't know.
You would think that they would make sleeves that had like sticky stuff.
I'm sure that wide receivers would love that.
Sticky sleeves.
So sorry, Tris, that
I know
my team beat.
I was so sad. I was like, I get so torn, because I'm like, man, football really brings out all of the negative emotions, even if it's like not direct team. Like once you've said, okay, I'm going for this team, I'm hoping they win, and then it starts going downhill, you're just like getting pissed and saying all these bad things, and I'm trying so hard not to say bad things. It's so sad.
Well, honestly, I mean, I do yell at the TV, and I do scream in the house. Like, I get really loud. Not as bad as Annabelle, I will say that, but I do get very animated. Yeah. But the thing is, and when they lose, I'm like, okay, that's just a bummer.
Yeah.
They should have played better. But I don't get upset and like want to fight people.
Right.
I mean, I'm not that type of person, because I'm just like, well, it happens. We all win, we all lose. Not everyone gets a trophy, and pull up your big boy pants, and you're still making millions of dollars.
Right. And that's what I was like, okay, my team didn't win. I still am rooting for them. I didn't say anything bad about them. Like, that's also frustrating when people just get on the bandwagon, or like they're talking their own team like on their socials and stuff. I'm like, dude, are you a fan or are you not a fan? Like, I couldn't do what even the lowest level team is doing. So like, it's very strenuous on your body. And I do think that the Dolphins have something. Hopefully they all stay, together. I don't know. Tua just needs to get out of his head and figure it out. But I do think that they've got a lot of awesome players. They had a lot on the injury list, on the injury report too.
That's what I was going to say. You guys had a lot of players that were
Van
injured
Ginkel,
too, so
is that his name? Van Ginkel? He was out. I hope I'm saying that name right. But yeah, he was definitely needed. out there too. So, it's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens this time of year, right? Is you're in the playoffs, you've been playing 18 weeks straight, or 18 weeks plus a bye week. So you've been playing 19 weeks plus your training camp. So there's a lot of players that are out there that are injured right now, right? I mean, and a lot of people are they're on their secondary quarterbacks too. So um it is what it is. I mean, and I also think it's like that time of year where and you're in the playoffs, and that's hard. Like mentally, you're having to go to, and then also you're going someplace where
It's like
it's
out of your
freezing.
comfort zone. Yeah, and you had mentioned like some of these guys on these teams look like they're just exhausted by the last portion, and I do think that the Eagles looked just absolutely drained after the half. And I know they've had like a tough last couple of games, but they just looked completely beat down. Like I felt for them. So I'm like, you've got to be exhausted. Nobody wants to keep losing the last few. And while I think there was still plenty of time, there was like 5 minutes. Anything can happen in 5 minutes. I mean, shoot, we've seen a game turn around in like 30 seconds. But, they just definitely looked defeated, and I felt for them for sure.
I just think it's a lot of it's mental, right? And I think with the Eagles, once they started getting on that losing streak, they didn't know how to pull themselves out, and that's where it's like Jalen Hurts as the quarterback, he needs to be taking that team and leading that team, and then get out of his own head, because if they see I don't, and I'm making this up. I don't even know if this is actually true, but I'm just saying that's like he's got to be the person that actually brings that team up along with the coaches of like, you guys can do this. Yeah, we've lost a couple, but it's like and who knows, maybe they were doing it, but I think it's just it's that mental, it's that your mentality of just like we've lost and we're not able to win, and then we're getting behind and we're gonna lose again, and this just sucks, and it's like then you can never get out, cry
Right.
yourself
And
out of
I
that.
try to
So
tell my youngest because, like, he's extremely competitive, a lot of which I blame of all the trash talk that they do, like when they're playing these games online and stuff. But he gets so upset. And, like, we're trying to tell him, listen, the more upset you get, like, the worse you tend to play because you're so frustrated, you're not focusing, and you're not just like doing what you need to do. So, like, we go play mini golf and he gets all flustered, and we're like, there's still like 15 holes left. Like, there's plenty of time to catch this back up. Get out of your head and just play and have fun. Like, enjoy what you're doing. So, you know, it's just that thing. I'm sure it's very tough to not get in your head as a professional player. Like, you have the papers and the media and everybody just dogging you and making you feel like crap because you're not exactly perfect. And that's got to wear down on some of these guys for sure.
oh, definitely. I mean, did you see the Steelers? So one of our moms in Milford Estates is a huge Steeler fan. So when the Steelers started like just dying, we all sent a group text to her like, "Hey, we
Yeah.
still love
I
you.
was like, don't kill
Are you okay?
anybody.
Don't beat up your husband." And anyways, at the press conference, what's the coach's name is who Mike
Is this Cirque?
um
Wait, not Cirque. Not.
it's the, no, I can't think of his last name right now. But so and they kept on showing this over and over again, even after the Eagles and Bucks game last night, that at the press conference for the Steelers, that some idiot reporter asked him like, "Oh, well, you have one more year on your contract." Like, and so because you just
Ah,
lost,
I
right? And I'm just like,
remember
that
that.
is so freaking rude. I'm like, and he just like walked off. He's like, I'm just not answering that. And I'm like,
Ah,
are you? I mean, can you just not? Where's your emotional intelligence? Can you not read the room
right?
here? Can you realize like how rude of a question that is? I mean, did you just want the man to be like?
Yeah.
Do you want to make him feel just bad?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
just.
I just was,
I agree with you. I saw it. I was
yeah,
like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't blame him for doing that. Like, I would get so tired of these reporters and journalists because they're just all idiots for the most part. Like, you have no idea. So, read the room.
yeah. I'm like, come on. I mean, exactly. Read the room. You are the a-hole in the room right now
Yes,
because you did that.
exactly.
Totally that. Okay, so Annabelle's had to like step away for a second, but I also wanted to talk about, oh, geez. we'll go the Packers and Cowboys. So that was an exciting game because I had the Cowboys winning on that game too.
I was
They
so
lost.
excited, and I was like, I cannot say anything. I cannot talk trash until this is done, and I'll know for sure. And then as soon as it was done, I was like, oh my gosh, America's team has it. Let's go Packers.
That's what I was going to ask you. Tris, who's America's team?
Yeah, go Pack, go. You know, my man, Aaron Rodgers, that used to be his team. Of course, I supported them. I used to be a Packers fan, and I watched a lot when Brett Favre was there too. So I think the Packers could have something. I was happy about that win. I don't think they're going to win it all,
Right?
but you know.
No, but it is nice to see these teams actually beat top seeded teams. Because I mean, Packers, right? They weren't. I mean, they kind of
Right.
just slid in to the wild card
Yeah.
weekend, and for them to beat the Cowboys, it was like, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'm sorry, Cowboy fans. I don't know what's going on, but it's like it is what it is. But some of these Cowboy fans are just like on social media, like
Oh my
they're just like really ripping into each other, or just being like, "Oh, my team, like that's it, that's what happens." And I'm like, "Come on, man!" I'm like, "It's still your team."
And this is
You gotta
true.
still
I
support
think
them.
that's why, because like all of my feed was just trash talking about. Actually, I saw this video of a guy. He runs downstairs and he's got a little Dallas Cowboy jersey, and he's like, "What is this doing upstairs in the crib?" And she's like, "What? You know, it's for the baby." And he's like, "You know, this is a choking hazard." And it was like the jersey. But I'm like, so he was an Eagles fan that made this video. It was hysterical, but I'm
Yeah.
just like, I think that the Cowboys get it so badly when they lose because their fans just talk so much trash. Like, nothing against Cowboys fans, but
Well,
they
maybe they should
really,
talk trash.
I don't know, maybe they need to tone it down a little bit, but they definitely get it dished out after a loss.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trash talk anybody because I'm like, you just
You
never know what's
don't.
gonna happen. And again, I'm just like this. I'm gonna sit over here, and even my youngest son is a huge like Miami fan, right? And so I sent you the picture of him where he's like wearing his
Yeah, he's
like
so cute.
Harvey Kill jersey, and I just won't even trash talk him. I'm like, hey, I don't know. I mean, they're here.
Yeah.
They made it this far into the playoffs, so there is always a chance,
Yeah.
and you never know because you don't know who's having a good they're on their A game that day,
Exactly.
right? And they're
Yeah.
yeah. So you just never know. So it's always interesting. But can we talk about the Rams and Lions game?
I thought the Lions would probably win. I wasn't sure. I thought because it's such an emotionally charged game for both sides. I thought Jared Goff and the Lions might just be so fired up the Rams have no chance. And then I thought, or Jared Goff caves under pressure and he throws 3 pick sixes. The way the game played out, I mean, I think that there was mistakes in play calling. There were definitely some pretty egregious missed calls. But I have to say, I'm okay with the outcome because neither quarterback was terrible. There were no interceptions thrown. So I felt like the way it played out was okay and acceptable because it wasn't like Lions fans could go away and be like, see, or complaining that Matthew stole their game or complaining or like talking smack about Matthew for throwing pick sixes. And also then Rams fans can't be talking smack about Jared Goff and being all negative. Like, I like that it took that, the thing I think a lot of people were afraid of, it sort of took it out of the storyline. And I liked that. So, it was a good game and it was the only game. Yeah. It was the only one that was even competitive for the whole game. I was disappointed with some of the play calling, like no red zone touchdowns, for example. That's a huge problem. But the other reason I'm okay with it is because the Rams weren't expected to do anything this year. It's like they're ahead of schedule because everyone kind of thought, okay, they're going to start getting good again next year because now they have cap space, and they were pretty good this year. And the games they lost, honestly, if they'd had a good backup quarterback, there's 2 games they wouldn't have lost. And if they had a good kicker, there's 2 or 3 more games they wouldn't have lost. So, I mean, they grew so much this year. So I feel good about it. Like, I'm okay that they didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to the play calls, there was, plays are the calls by the refs. I feel like this whole weekend, there was a lot of bad calls and there was a lot of missed calls too.
And I'm thinking,
and I don't know.
There was 1 or 2 calls in the first half of the game that they gave the Rams. They shouldn't have. And so then late in the second half, it's like it flipped. So there was one or two that they shouldn't have called, but I think as a fan base, you think, okay, they evened it out. Like they didn't call pass interference there and they should have. But then as the game went on, there was the hit to Matthew Stafford. And I don't know if you guys watched the slow-mo replay like I did, but he gets hit by Aiden Hutchinson and then another defender hits him another step later. And then he falls back and slams his head on the turf. And as he's down, he's unconscious for a minute. He's 100% unconscious because when Hutchinson stomps his shoulder, Matthew's body just kind of flops. I mean, his eyes were open, but he didn't wince at the step. It was like ragdoll flopping because he got stepped on. I'm like, oh, he was out cold for a few seconds there. And his hands were kind of like frozen. And I think because he got up quick enough. I mean, I know they evaluated he went into the tent and got evaluated. But I think because he got up so quick, they couldn't like say, well, and as long as he's not reporting certain things, I'm sure he knows how to get around that. He got to go back and play. And I mean, he got hit like that. I don't know what's wrong with him now because I don't know if they're putting out injury reports for the offseason. But I mean, either his ribs or his shoulder got probably bruised at a minimum, and he got knocked out. And he still went out there and threw a dime immediately after it. I'm like, he had a hole in his hand. Was throwing in. He had like something ripped in here, and it was just blood everywhere. They were like stuffing it. Yeah, it was. I think it was from a helmet. Yeah.
It was from a helmet earlier on.
I mean, he's always been so tough and gritty, and if he can stand up and hold the ball, he's going to go out there. And yeah.
Well, I think any of them at this level, and in the playoffs, you have to just give it all, and you have to just work through that pain. No, I agree with you on all that. I think there is, all across the board watching this weekend, there were some bad calls, and I don't know if it's because the way the refs are, that they're not their normal teams, right? So they pull from
the team. Now the guy that was the head of the teams, crew for the Rams Lions, notoriously is a Ram hater. The Rams are like 3-7 when he's calling their games. He's made, just historically, somebody put together a clip of all the bad calls, and it's like pretty exceptional. But he's also been that way towards the Lions, so we were like, well, maybe it'll even out. But the thing with Matthew, I forgot to say my whole point, like Aiden Hutchinson hitting him was not a late hit or a dirty hit. The second hit that was a whole step later was a late hit and should have been roughing the passer because he went with his helmet. And then the stomp on his shoulder, people are like, that wasn't on purpose. I'm like, I don't know. There's 3 basically hits to him, and 2 of them were completely unnecessary to the play and late. That should have 100% been roughing the passer. And then there was that call on Puka where dude literally is holding him back. He's holding his jersey and pulls him back and down. He can't catch the ball. I'm like, that was so egregious. Like, I like when they let guys play and they're not calling it for just like a tiny tug of the jersey. I don't want him to call it. I want to play. But that was like, we literally held him down and he can't get the ball. And I mean,
no, I saw that, and I'm like, how is that not being called?
I will say, I mean, those two calls could have changed the course of the game. However, what did everybody always say? You shouldn't leave it in the ref's hands. If you'd scored even 1 touchdown in the red zone, you wouldn't have been in that predicament. So you have to be better. You know what I mean? You shouldn't leave it to the refs. Now, I know it happens, but
the frustration about my frustration, and maybe you guys have better insight on this, but I just don't understand why there's never any accountability for the reffing. Not because like, oh, my team didn't win because the refs didn't call it. Like, there have been so many blatant, like you watch it back on the replay. It was very clear. I don't remember what happened. Something with one of the kickers, one of the times, like got hit afterwards. Anyways, I don't know which team, but I was just like, how is that not? And then these guys say something about it, and then they get fined. Like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense.
Refs watching film? Like, players watch tons of film. Are the refs watching the film to get better?
Exactly.
And this way in baseball.
I'm sure. I think they do. I think they have to, right? Because I mean, they can get like demoted and taken off these teams, right? I mean, but at the same time, they are all also, they're people. I mean, we all make mistakes, and so they are.
Well, for sure, but I think how and also in the playoffs they have extra guys on the crew, and they have all these cameras to review. Like last night, for example, when the failed tush push, one of the ways they stopped him was pulling Jalen Hurts' face mask back and around. And if we can see that on television, that means people. Why can't the review crew? Why can't the review crew into the little earpiece be like, "Hey, there was a face mask."
Well, I think also with that though, it wouldn't have changed it. It wouldn't have changed it because like he was already so far back off.
But it would be they would get another chance.
All they did was push him back.
They would be on the half-inch line, and they would get a second chance. That's what it would do. I mean, I just think if we can see it at home, and I don't mean on the slow down replay, because obviously in a slow down replay, we see way more. These guys have to watch it in real time. But if we can see it on TV, why can't the crew or
I think they probably do, but it's like they probably don't want to interact with what's being called on the field or what they can see, right? Because if you can have angles at every single level. It's just like with the ultrasound machine now, right? They can see so much more details of like what's going on, like now, like inside somebody, that it can almost be detrimental. Where like when you're pregnant now, where it's like they're like, oh, they're going to call and think something's this way, when they know it's like, oh, that's just the progression of how things are going to go. So I feel like if they um basically digested every single play,
of
you
course,
could probably find
of
some
course.
type of like
You could call holding on every
right. So it's
play,
like you
for
can't
sure,
you can't
but
leave you. Yeah, and so for some reason, it's like you're gonna have to just go with what they see
I
on the
know, but
field,
I
and
just
that's
think
their
some things, and especially
eyesight.
penalties that are dangerous ones, like a face mask where somebody's head's being pulled back, or like late hits, like things like that. I feel
Yeah,
like whoever is watching the game in the review in New York or wherever it is should be like blatant this, and then they go look at the tape real quick and they call it. I mean, I
I think they do. I think they probably flag it, and then they probably go back and they talk
right,
to those refs
but
about
that
that. I
stuff
mean, that
does
would
change
be
the outcome of
there's
games.
kind of like a postmortem of every postmortem of every game of like, hey, listen,
Yeah,
this is what you guys did right, and this is what you guys did wrong, and this is what you guys missed. I would assume that's what they do, because that's how you would get better. I mean, the one thing I do want to say about that game is it was so nice to see
yeah.
Detroit
Do
actually
you know
win a
they
playoff
hadn't
game.
won
Yeah.
a playoff
And
game since texting was a
in
thing.
32 years.
Okay, so you are reading my mind. I loved to see them win, but the thing was that it was them, like they hadn't won a playoff game since like 1992, I think. And then the Dolphins were like since 2000. So now they're
Oh
the
no, are they?
longest ones without a playoff game. Yes. So
Really?
they've gone since like
Really?
2000. I don't
Oh my
remember who the third
gosh.
one was because there was three
Oh,
that they had listed. I was like,
damn it.
dang it, now we got to win one next year because can't be on that list. But yeah.
Definitely,
So
definitely. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. But yeah,
That's
it was like
crazy.
32 years was their like
that's
The fact that they
longest
hadn't
the
won
long
since
crazy.
texting was around, that to me that was like, wow, that made me feel old.
That's so funny.
Because I remember
That's
before
so
texting was around,
funny. Yeah, that's
Oh
hilarious.
yeah,
Uh-uh.
exactly. We didn't have phones growing up. Or they showed the old guy he's been a season
Oh
ticket
my
holder
Yeah,
in
gosh.
the last
I
six or
saw
6 years
that.
or
He's
something,
not a
right?
Right?
bandwagoner. That's
And
what they're saying.
Oh
That's
my
true.
gosh.
no, he's
Somebody,
not. No.
some guy on Facebook yesterday, this was so funny. So I posted the day before in a shirt that said only Rams, and on the day of the Rams game.
Mhm.
And then yesterday I posted an Eagles shirt. It's like the Philly dog one. It says like, what does it say? Eagles with
Yeah.
the Georgia G in the middle. And I mean, it's common knowledge to people that have followed me
Yeah.
that I have been sort of rooting for the Eagles. I mean, but loosely the last 2 years because of all the Georgia guys going there. And
Yeah.
some people will joke and be like, oh, you can't like two NFC teams. And I laugh because that's sort of true. I mean, I get the thing, but this guy went off on
Yeah.
my Facebook. He was going crazy. He was so furious. Oh yeah, so much for only Rams. You're not, and he was going on and on, and then he devolved into like crazy insults, and I'm like, I see it hours later, and I'm like,
Calm it down.
this man is
What
upset.
is it? You need to have a
I
word
said,
with yourself,
I'm like,
sir.
sir,
Go
you need
have
to calm
a
down
word
and have a
with
word with
yourself.
yourself. And I go look at his profile. He's a Vikings fan. He's not even a fan of either of those teams. So I'm like,
He's
wasn't
just
even
mad
in
at
playoffs.
team,
Not
not
even
very
And
good
I
talks
was
this
like,
about
year.
it.
this is
Yeah.
one of the most
Yeah.
unhinged things people have ever yelled at me about on the internet. Because there's a lot of things people troll. Trolls go after all kinds of things. But he was so mad. And he kept calling me a bandwagon fan. I'm like, well, dude, I went there because college players I like, or I like it because college players I like went to the team. I mean, maybe not because the Eagles were good last year. It was because players I like went to play there. So but also I don't care if you call me a bandwagon fan. Who cares? I mean, it's a silly insult.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make you a bandwagon. Like
It's not
he
the right
clearly doesn't
right,
know the
right,
definition of
right.
bandwagon. Like you're just it's the same thing. Like I will root for the Eagles, but if Dolphins aren't playing, why can I not root for one of the other teams?
Exactly.
That's playing? It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. I mean, well, we had our predictions,
Yeah.
and I was rooting for
Exactly.
those teams
And
this weekend.
it's like,
Exactly.
I also like to see George Pickens, who's on the Steelers. And I like to see that, when you love college football, then a lot of times it's normal that people then want to watch them where they play. And so it's,
Yeah.
you root for them unless
Yeah.
they're playing your team. So this guy being so I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
first of all, you're blocked, but he kept creating new accounts
Take
to
it.
come about that. Yeah.
That's when you know it's like
Yeah.
you
Right.
need to step away
Right.
from the computer. He's like my uncle, my Native American uncle who I love. He got so mad at his computer that he actually shot it. So I love my family. It's something I would probably do too, or
I've
I
thought
would
about
just
throwing my
like,
computer
I'd
out the
probably
window
throw it on the
before,
floor,
100%, but shooting it is hilarious.
Well, there is one mom in our MILF estates that has gotten so mad at one of her children that she actually took the computer and like tossed it across the room and broke it.
Is it
Because I'm like, I thought I was like, I had a temper, and I was like,
okay,
what?
I was gonna say, it wasn't me,
I was
so
gonna
it's
say
got
I
to be her.
could guess who
You see
that
her
was.
doing
If it's
that?
not me, it's got to be her.
All right, so Poindexter's here having technical difficulties, so we're gonna wrap it all up. So that wraps up for this week for a Super Wildcard Weekend overview, and on to next divisional weekend. Next weekend's gonna be some good football, and so go ahead if you want to just listen to us. Go to Apple or Spotify, but if you want to look at Triss and her brownies
and her outfit, you 100% want to do it. You might want to pop on over to YouTube, even just for a minute.
Can you stand up 1 second, one more time to show everybody like this ridiculous, like it's not ridiculous, it's actually
in a great
really
way.
cute, and
we mean that as a compliment. It's so cute. I can't take it.
So
oh my god.
See?
Oh my goodness.
She's our little snack.
You are
So
Triss.
cute.
See?
Yes.
Now we'll be back with more snacks later, and I'll finish this brownie and these marshmallows.
Yes. All right. See you later. Bye.